Marshall, roll call.
Mr. Armour?
Here.
Mrs. Denny? Here. Mr. Doherty?
Here.
Mrs. Essler? Here. Ms. Hilferty? Mrs. Jones?
Here.
Mrs. Powell? Mrs. Stone?
Here.
Mr. Tinsley?
Here. Next on the agenda is staff, student, and community recognition. We're going to Penducker retirees. Mr. Craig?
Thank you, Mr. President. It's our pleasure to introduce 4 retirees this evening that have given their service to Pendelco School District, and we've asked each of their principals to present them to you so that we can recognize them in this public session. So first up is Aston Elementary, Mrs. Phillips.
Got it. Good evening. I'm here to recognize Peg. Peg Prox has spent all of her time at Pendelco in Aston Elementary School. She began as a clerical assistant before moving to the position of secretary to the principal. Peg has worked for several principals, including Linda Connery, Alexis McGloin, Gary Bender, and myself. All would agree we are extremely lucky to have worked with her. The staff at Aston is extremely grateful to have worked with Peg over the years. They describe Peg as friendly, organized, helpful, and patient, especially patient. No matter the situation, she handles it with a smile. Peg is the calm in the middle of the storm, the voice of reason before the field trip, when 3 students have forgotten lunches and one says, "My mom can't chaperone." She is the go-to person for all things administrative. Need a form? Peg has it, or knows where to get it. Peg has maintained an admirable degree of professionalism, possesses exceptional capabilities while performing her responsibilities, and has always been willing to take on a challenge. Peg listens to everyone who enters the office and manages to leave people feeling understood and supported. As Peg enters into this new chapter of her life, may she be granted opportunities to embrace new experiences while enjoying the life she has built with her family. She has been an incredible asset to Aston Elementary School and will greatly be missed. Thank you, Peg.
Good evening. I want to thank you, Mr. Gregg, and thank you, School Board of Directors, for giving me the chance to say a few words for the wonderfully kind, patient, and talented Mrs. Linda Lennon. To help a child grow academically, behaviorally, emotionally, and socially, one has to hone their craft until they are a master educator. Not only did Mrs. Lennon master her craft, she was born to work with children. I've enjoyed watching her guide a child to make the right decision or build the vocabulary and phonics skills of a beginning reader. Mrs. Lennon has a special ability to connect and build a rapport with students at Coburn. She has that likability factor, and that motivates students to want to learn from her. She doesn't know we did this. So we asked a few of her students to say a few words and how they felt about her. And they're always very honest. Jalen says that she is nice, helpful, funny, and patient. Clarence says, always helps me, gives me a break when I get upset. Very funny, and she's always laughing. Dylan says he likes the way she slowly goes through the math with us. Lucas says that she is kind, respectful, cares about us, helps us out. Anna Marie says that she is awesome, colorful, and stylish. Emma says that she is pretty, nice, cool, and my favorite, fashionable. Alyssa says that she is nice, funny, and she is the best, and I agree with that. Mrs. Lennon, you should be very proud of the positive impact and mark you have made on many children's lives. We at Pendelco School District and Coburn Elementary especially are very proud of you, and thank you very much. Enjoy your time traveling and time with your family, and I wish you a healthy and happy retirement.
Good evening, I'm Eileen Martin. I'm the principal of Pennell Elementary School, and I'm here to speak on behalf of Deb Mallon. Deb has already retired, and we miss her greatly, but it's very easy for me to see the words about Deb as I recall from her retirement. One of the things that most touched me about her retirement was the response of her son and what he posted on Facebook. It was just so wonderful and telling to see how many people truly appreciate Deb for all of her hard work and incredible service. As you can see, she had over 30 years of service in the Pendelco community. She spent many of her years at Pennell, and I just can't begin to say what kind words about her. I want to just quickly mention that she's been incredibly kind, she's been wonderfully caring, she's been responsible, and most importantly to me, she was like another mother. So I feel like she cared for Pennell like it was another child. So although we got to know her 3 children, I feel like Pennell was probably her 4th child because she cared so much for it. And you know, she's still caring for it now, and so we're so honored and privileged to have her come back and visit. So she does have a new haircut, as I reminded her, like when people get married, they get new haircuts. So we can see that she's already beginning her retired in happiness here. But I'm just so happy for her, and you know, it's such a privilege to work with Deb at Pennell Elementary. So congratulations again on your retirement. The next person I get to speak about is not just a little pint size, but she has an incredible energy, is Diane Rossen. Diane has an incredible history in Pendelco as well. She has worked, as you can see, for 39 years in the district, and she was actually a student at Parkside Elementary School. And I was so honored and privileged to see there's an incredible picture of Diane when she was 5, right? We said this would never happen in this day and age, but the crossing guard picked her up, and they took a picture of her near the spot, the flashing symbol for the crossing guard right there at Parkside. And it's the same flashing light that's at Parkside today. So to me, that's just incredible that Diane not only started off at Pendelco as a kindergarten student, but then came back to serve in the Pendelco community for almost 40 years. So some of the things you might not know about Diane, I'm showing her favorite colors, black and white, right? Am I right? Diane says that all the time. You know what I mean? Or am I right? Those are some common terms. She has very high expectations for students, which we all know. But what we found out recently is why she might have some of those high expectations and how she can get there. So you may or may not know this, but there might be a slight drop in candy sales because what we found out at a retirement party is that kids, no matter what grade they're in, whether they're in 2nd grade, 3rd grade, 5th grade, at the middle school, high school, or if they are a graduate of Sun Valley High School, some of their fondest memories are getting Dum Dum lollipops from Mrs. Rossen. Another thing that you may or may not know is another fabulous memory they had was the Cleanest Town in the West show, and that show will be performing on June 2nd, so that will be the final Diane Rossen, Cleanest Town of the West show. So one of the things that was really impressive to me was the amount of people and families that have been touched by Mrs. Rossen and how they just keep coming back for more. If you've ever been there on a Teacher Appreciation Day, we're trying to figure out how she gets so many flowers, but after we saw all the accolades, it was really easy to understand why. She still has this incredible touch with students, so they're not just her 2nd grade students for that particular year. They become part of the Rossen family, which in turn is most of Pendelco's family. So when I said this at her retirement party last week, when I think of the patchwork quilt of Pendelco, Diane is definitely one of the stitches and one of the really big threads that goes through Pendelco. So we are going to be incredibly sad to miss you. I don't know how we're going to function, part of it, but you have just been such an incredible part of Pendelco. So you're not going very far, luckily. You're always going to be part of us, but we are going to be missing you terribly. So we wish you all the happiness you, Michael, in your retirement.
Thank you.
Dr. Steinhoff asked me to extend his personal congratulations and best wishes to our retirees and to extend his thanks for your years of service. Thank you very much.
Next on the agenda is 3.01 is the approval of minutes. This motion is approve the minutes of the regular meeting of April 27th and also May 11th, 2016. Do I have this motion? Questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. 3.02 is the invoice listing. This motion is to approve the invoice listing from April 2016 through May of 2016. Do I have this motion? Questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. 3.03 Treasury Report. Mr. Armour?
As of 3/31/2016, PennDelco's balance was $28,178,270. During April 2016, local, state, and federal revenues totaled $2,395,777. Disbursements were issued in the amount of $4,185,452. As of 4/30/2016, PennDelco's current balance is $26,388,596. Do I have this motion?
Do I have this motion? Questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. 3.04 is the budget transfer report. This motion is to approve the budget transfer report as presented. Do I have this motion?
So moved.
Second.
Questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. 3.05 is supplemental financial information that includes expenditures, revenue, and student activity. Next on the agenda is student representatives report to the board.
This was another busy month at the Valley. Underclassmen took their keystones the past 2 weeks. AP tests were taken from May 1st to May 13th. Senior prom was a huge success on May 6th at the Camden Aquarium, which followed with post-prom, and this year's theme was Disney. The seniors will leave this Friday, May 27th for their class trip to Disney and will return on Tuesday, May 31st.
The ROTC girls team won the national championship in their physical fitness. The blood drive took place today and was a huge success with many students donating. Freshman Career Day was on May 5th with a variety of different companies that came to speak about their jobs. Arts Allowed was on May 18th and Jazz in the Valley was on May 19th. And any student taking AP classes next year will have an assembly this Friday to learn about the AP requirements.
June is another busy month for the Valley. The senior awards will be on June 6th. The seniors will graduate on June 14th with Nick Garvey as valedictorian and Michael Costigan as salutatorian.
Our Pride Picnic will be on June 9th where the yearbooks will be distributed. The juniors will go on a class trip to Busch Gardens on June 11th. Underclassmen will take their finals starting on June 13th. And I want to thank you all for letting me be on the board this year and look forward to seeing you all next year.
And lastly, I just wanted to thank you all for letting me be on the board for the past years. It was a great learning experience and I'm grateful.
Did you guys come June or not? This is it? Now you probably get it. Every single adult always asks you, what are you guys doing this summer?
Studying.
Preparing for college.
Well, thank you. You guys did very good. You guys are good too.
Thank you. Thank you.
Announcements for the public. As you can see, Mr. Gregg is filling in for our superintendent, Dr. Steinoff, this evening. Dr. Steinoff has been excused from tonight's meeting so that he can attend an important personal event for a family member of his. He briefed the board on agenda items and the administrative recommendations at last week's study session. Also an announcement, in accordance with Act 48, the board met in executive session this evening to discuss litigation and personnel issues. Comments by members of the board? Items for board's information. 7.01 Legislative Council Report.
Thanks, Kevin. Harrisburg is becoming active again now that the primary season is over, and discussions about proposed budget for the next school year has begun to take shape. Still, things are relatively quiet at the Capitol. Behind the scenes, there is a lot of negotiation going on. Word at the Capitol is that potentially there will be a budget completed by the end of June, shortly thereafter. Governor Wolf remains of the belief that the state funding of schools should be increased, while legislative leaders continue to grapple with where those additional funds would come from, as well as other legislation that affects pensions, Plan Con funding, teacher furlough procedures, and possibly some changes and updates to charter school laws. The House Education Committee did report out of committee House Bill 1159 that would require the timely release of school funding of each year, even if a state budget is not passed. The bill establishes the Emergency Basic Education Subsidy Fund that would provide for payments to school districts when the state appropriation is not enacted by August 15th of each year. The Commonwealth Financing Authority has also scheduled a meeting June 13th to keep the ball moving forward for potential Plan Con construction reimbursement to school districts. There are still many hurdles in the process, but all signs suggest that there could be Plan Con construction long overdue reimbursements to school districts at some point in the next 6 months. Also, pension costs will continue to surface in Harrisburg. There is acknowledgement that will require either additional funds put into the system, changes for new hires, or a combination of the two. The House State Government Committee last week amended and passed House Bill 1499 that creates a stacked hybrid pension system for new school employees hired on or after July 1st of 2017. The bill has not been negotiated between both chambers, so it is not clear if the Senate is on board. Although the Senate has made it clear that pension reform is a high priority. House Bill 1499 is among the various pension reforms that may receive consideration as part of the budget negotiations. As discussions continue, numerous amendments may be expected to be offered to any of these bills, and the issue remains fluid. Escalating pensions contributions have grown by nearly $2 million in Pendelco alone over the past few years, putting quite a strain on our budget. Districts across the state are urging the legislature to enact pension legislation that properly funds the pension plan, honors the benefit and obligation that existing employees have been paying towards, implements changes for new hires, reduces costs related to fund management fees, and provides meaningful relief for school districts so those funds can be redirected. It is reasonable for an employer to contribute towards employee retirement benefits, but the escalating contribution rate that school districts must meet have become unreasonable. And last, the state Senate, with an overwhelming bipartisan vote of 49-1, passed House Bill 1552, which would make the bipartisan Basic Education Funding Commission subsidy funding formula permanent. The bill now returns to the House for a concurrent vote. If the House concurs, the next stop for the House Bill 1552 is the governor's desk. With this fair funding education formula, we can take an important step toward the goal of ensuring all students have a fair shot at academic success, no matter where they live. That's it.
Thank you, Ms. Hessler. And I counted, I think budget was in that 8 times at the beginning of the presentation. As everyone in audience or watching on Periscope, typically we vote on the budget in May, and we're waiting an extra month for that. So typically in April, Ms. Marshall gives a presentation. However, now we're going to go over the school district budget presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Tinsley. As you stated, tonight the board will be voting on the proposed final budget, something we typically try to bring to the board in April. Tonight, I will do an abbreviated version of the presentation that we did last week at study session. So, up on the screen now is the basic calendar that we followed for the budget. The board approved an opt-out resolution in December, committing to not raise the taxes beyond the Pendelco Act 1 index. In May, the district was notified the amount of our state allocation for property tax reduction. That is equal to approximately $1.3 million. Tonight, the board is being asked to adopt the proposed final budget. We will do another final budget presentation probably on June 15th, actually, and look for a final budget adoption on June 22nd. Oops, sorry. The proposed final budget is 27.2438 mils. That's an additional millage of 0.7678, which brings in approximately $1 million in revenue. It's a 2.9% increase, which is equal to the Pendelco index, and expenditures for this budget equal $59,850,000. This proposed final budget does require the use of fund balance. We have an assigned debt service fund balance that we're going to use of $1.5 million. We have some assigned technology funds that we're going to use of $483,000, and we're also going to use $600,000 from funds that were committed for the PSERS expense that Mrs. Essler just talked about in her presentation. So what does that mean for our average homeowner in Pendelco? The median assessment of $114,000. The annual cost to the taxpayer will be $3,125, and this represents approximately a $7.40 per month increase. We, as I stated, did get our homestead funds. We have 7,150 homes in the district that qualify for homestead at this time, and the maximum amount that they will see off of their tax bill is $189.10. We get the majority of our revenue from local sources, and by local sources I do mean the taxpayers. We get 28% of our revenue from the state, and we get less than 1% of our revenue from the federal government. Overall, our budget is spent primarily on instruction, $32 million going to instruction, $19 million going to support services, $7 million going to finance, and $1 million going to operations. Looking back at our historic millage rate increases, you can see that at 2.9%, we are lower than we have been since where we were in 2010-11. And as I stated, this is our Act 1 index for Pendelco. So what's driving our budget? And you can see that it does require the use of assigned fund balance. So the driver is, once again, the PSERS contribution, which is set at 30.3% of salaries. The budget does not currently require any cuts to core academic or extracurricular programs or activities, and as I stated, it does not exceed the Act 1 index. So this, once again, will be on the agenda for tonight for the board to vote on the proposed final budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Marshall. Next on the agenda are public comments. Seeing none. Number 9, items for board review. Tonight we will be doing a consent agenda for board items on the agenda 9.01 through 9.19. I ask board directors if there are any board items they would like to pull from the consent agenda.
Mr. Tinsley, the only item when we had discussed the consent agenda, I had not reviewed your agenda and did not think that your proposed final budget was on there. I would recommend that you vote on the proposed final budget separately, so your consent agenda would be item 9.01 through 9.19, with the exception of 9.09. Vote on that separately, would be my suggestion.
Okay. Thank you. So that's the only agenda item that I am going to pull is 9.09. That being said, 9.01 personnel professional, approve 9.19, excluding 9.09, secondary schools grading school. Do I have this motion?
So moved. Second.
Questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Going back to 9.09, proposed final budget for 2016-2017. It is the proposed final budget is being presented tonight, was presented tonight, May 25th. Passage enables the document to become public and a public hearing to reschedule. It's also approval of 2016-2017 proposed final budget. This motion is to approve the proposed final budget for 2016-2017 and the resolution as presented. Do I have this motion?
So moved.
Questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Number 10 on the agenda is comments by members of the public. Comments by members of the board?
One of the items we voted on tonight was 9.16, approval of planned courses. I didn't want this to go into the radar screen since we had the proposed final budget, which is the big one. But what I'm very excited about is the approval of the new curriculum for math for Northley. As a parent of a Northley student, I've been frustrated by the current curriculum, so I'm very grateful to the administration, Dr. Stein, Mr. Gregg, for coming up with the new curriculum for us, one that I'm happy with. I think the parents will be happy with also. I just wanted to point that out, that we do occasionally shake things up, and when parents aren't happy, we look for new curriculum. Thank you.
So, I mean, I do, quickly highlight some of the items that are that are on the agenda tonight. Obviously, proposed the budget. Bathrooms are going to be redone in Sun Valley. Like Mr. Dockery said, some of the courses as well. And we're also changing the grading scale at the secondary level, and also approving a policy for student attendance. Both we engaged administration and also administration within the schools as well. So future meetings, due to voting on the budget, our potential final budget in June, we are moving the meetings up. So our study session will be Wednesday, June 15th, here in the Service Center, and our voting meeting will be Wednesday, June 22nd, here in the Service Center. Motion for adjournment?
Motion.